Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Words, Images, and Worlds. It is my delight to be talking with comics creator Joe Flood. Joe, thank you so much for jumping in and joining me today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
We were working through some microphones. We got some things worked out.
Yeah,
So we are on the same channel, and I got to tell you, I was talking with a comics creator just a little while ago, Chris Schweitzer, and he just happened to bring your name up and talk about how wonderful you are.
one of my favorite people in the entire world. I'm
Yes.
so happy that you mentioned him because he is just a wonderful human being and an amazing comics writing talent and artist to boot. Like,
And he had all sorts of good things to say about you as
yeah,
well.
I have all sorts of. I could make this podcast about, his model work. Oh, like he does little, he was showing me some stuff he was doing back
Oh
when he
yeah.
was at Scat Atlanta, and he did this recreation of this old, you know, uh, um, like rust bucket kind of boat.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Like,
It's
oh my,
very
I
cool.
don't know modeling scale, like eighth scale or whatever. I don't know that terminology, but it was like it was astounding. Like his what he's able to create, like 2D, 3D, fantastic stuff. And so praise coming from him is very very much appreciated.
Yeah, yeah. He was very kind and actually talked about you and Carl Kyle Starks. Um, so wonderful conversation and glad to talk with you as well. I've enjoyed your work for some time. I think Science Comics was probably the first thing that I saw of yours, but I also have looked at Knee Deep. I've looked at an early copy of Knee Deep, and you have several books out there in the world.
Yeah,
So lots of wonderful things.
I got some stuff floating around that for me I've been incredibly lucky to get traction with a book. I guess that's the best way to say, like, something that has kind of like, I mean, dinosaurs is just, everyone who doesn't love dinosaurs. It's kind of an evergreen kind of product. I would love at some point to like get together with MK Reed, the author, and kind of do like a little update of it. I think that might be something that the publisher would probably definitely get behind, being like, hey, this book that's been sitting on your shelves for 5 years now. I think, I don't know, it's been 5 years, maybe like something like that, 4 or 5 years. Hey, new edition, a new update. We've updated it with some you know, new dinosaur facts and everything. So, yeah, that was. It's great that I was able, because some stuff just didn't seem to draw people in, because I had like three graphic novels that preceded the science comics, and they just didn't seem to. And I also did some self-publishing stuff, which is where Knee Deep came from to begin with. To like sort of, so it is a kind of a thing where it's like I started self-publishing in college, because that's what everyone was doing. It was the very, I mean, if you were like the coolest people were self-publishing, and I'm sure you have some of them on the show, but like Raina Telgemeier, she was doing mini
Mhm.
comics. Farrell Dalrymple was actually, he was doing some stuff too. He was doing stuff with his collective Meat House. You had
Yeah.
uh, Rick Spears and Rob G doing Teenagers from Mars, and I got together with them, and especially with Rick. He was starting his own imprint, and that's where my first graphic novel came from. So that the first graphic novel that was actually, oh, we're actually going to publish it, and it's going to be like in stores. It's going to be an actual, having a team. It's just basically just Rick and me and one other person kind of putting the book together. But it was better than just doing it on my own, which is what I was
Mhm.
doing with a book I was doing, Don't Eat the Electric Sheep. And so there was like two stories happening simultaneously in the book, and the whole idea is at one point, like, the back matter, like the B story at the end of the comic and the A story at the front of the comic, at one point they merge, and that's about as far as I got, when like just you just run out of steam with the self publishing, which is but luckily, I got together like first second, saw the work that I was doing, especially the stuff I was doing uh, um, with Rick, and said, okay, hey, you want to do some, you know, well, we got this orcs thing. You want to do that? And I'm like, oh wow, this is like an established fantasy novel series. Yeah, let's do that. It didn't go anywhere. It was a great. I love the book. I got a lot of good feedback about the book, but we weren't. It's when you're stuck between two worlds, kind of a thing. You know, it's like people who read fantasy novels, they have certain expectations, and then people who are reading, let's say, I want to say first seconds audience, were maybe expecting something else, and it wasn't in the vein of fantasy art what exactly they were looking to, that. So it failed to really resonate with either of those two groups, and because I don't think it was weird enough, or like the story didn't grab you the way, like if you're like picking up something like the other stuff like I guess like American Born Chinese, or the stuff that like Faith Aaron Hicks was doing. It didn't have that like, this has something in it that's really going to draw me in. Oh, it's your standard not fairy tale, standard fantasy thing. And then the fantasy crowd was like, this doesn't look like Frank Franzetta, so I'm not interested. And not that I don't love that dude. He's but I was trying to do my own. I was trying to do my own thing, and
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
trying to find your voice. You're trying to find your I don't want to say so much style, because I think when you're writing and illustrating your own comics, I think it goes like beyond that. Is that and I don't want to and I you know I know a lot of people who say like, oh, I have a style, and they sell, and that's what they're selling, because um but you have it's more of like a niche, you know
Mhm.
like you would, yeah, you know what I mean. Does that make sense? you
Yeah,
know
yeah, absolutely,
like
absolutely. And
you know
you were talking about,
I,
oh, sorry.
oh no, it's okay, go ahead.
You were talking about fantasy. Knee Deep has this like post-apocalyptic dystopian kind of thing that I love. I love stories that are set in that. We're kind of I've processed the pandemic enough to enjoy those things again. For a
Oh
while, I couldn't, but I found it really enjoyable in that way of world building.
I wanted to do something that was very like grimy, and a lot of like repurpose, like, okay, you have to build a society from garbage,
Mhm.
and it's going to be the most like, it's the fun apocalypse because it is the most, like, if you think about, like, you have like a teenage character who's like thrown into this situation where it's like she's found like the most fun like hidden clubhouse ever, and it's all made out of like repurposed parts and trash and things like that. The one drawback, there's no sunlight. Like, it's like, it is, I wanted it to be like, this is something that I would, at a certain age, I that's what my friends were doing.
Yeah.
You finding old wheelbarrows and scrap wood, and like building a fort out of it, and then like hanging out at it. And we did that until we were at least like maybe 11 or 12. And I think even like, much later than it probably should have been. And a lot of that kind of found its way into the book. But then there's also just kind of like the stuff that has that, like I mean, there's a lot of like Ninja Turtles. There's a lot of Tank Girl. There's a lot of stuff that was very, like Jamie Hewlett is like, like he's like one of the all-time greatest, just, uh, just I don't even want person to put pencil to paper. And all those like those talents that just like anything he does is just like, wow, that's just, you have an amazing, an amazing talent. I think like calling him an illustrator or a cartoonist because he's like, you know, some of the stuff you hear about, some of the stuff, some of the gorilla stuff that never like came to fruition, like some of the like things that he wanted to do, like you hear about like the live stage show they did them. I think he did like Monkey King was one of the things he did. It was like very limited performance and everything. Like he wanted to expand that with gorillas. He wanted it to be like I forget what it's called. It's called like something carousel or something. It's insane what he want. And then they weren't able to like, yeah, we don't have the money for this. We can't do this. You know, you're talking about like a live interactive like festival that just so he had to like pull back on a lot of things. So it's really sad. And you're like, oh man, just give him a movie. Like give this man like $1 million and just be like, make a movie. I don't care
Right.
what it's about. Just do something. Because it's like, I feel like you can't, I don't want to get into it, but there is every artist comes into that, hits that restraint of
Yeah.
like, you know, time versus money versus what the market can sell. And you're always kind of like wedged somewhere in between there. And you're like, all right, well, let me just do the best I can do. And Knee Deep is great because they're just basically like the editor who asked me, hey, do you have anything? And I was like, yeah, I got this thing I've been working on forever. And never really, no one really, I got a lot of people that turned it down. Some other publishers that turned it down. And I was like, I was feeling very like dejected. I'm like, no one's gonna want to see this. And they're like, no, 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 just send it to me and I'll let you know what I think. And they were just like, yeah, you want it? Can you make this into 3? I was like,
Great.
yeah, I can make it into 3. I mean, it was just gonna be the one, but yeah, I could split it up into 3 parts. Great. We're looking for 3-part, creator owned stuff right now, and they just I think it was Lionforge at the time, just like snapped it up, and then it happened, and then Lionforge merged with Oni, and the book got delayed, and I'm like, well, is Oni gonna pick up the book? And then, and James over at Oni was like, yeah, of course, dude, we love your stuff. Of course, we're gonna, yeah, no, oh, you everything that like, no, let's just we'll put you on the schedule, and then it just got to, it was partially me. Just I was working on the science books. I had like 3, I'm not 3. I had at least 2 science books like back to back. I had Sharks and Birds of Prey. That I just wanted to. I really was excited about Sharks. Even more excited about Birds of Prey. Want to hammer those out, get those out there. At the same time, like stuff in the world is happening, and it was like seeping into knee deep. It was like everything like um that was happening as far as like um I want to say like both like climate change and my like like love of science that I had since I was a kid. So, it kind of started with dinosaurs. I did a graphic novel about dinosaurs. But it's like, oh, but it continued and it kind of expanded, and I was just like absorbing stuff and taking stuff in, and I was just like, okay, how do I incorporate this into the book? Like, how do I make it about like, you know, um, like how do I make it about plants, but not about like because like growing plants and everything is so important. Like oh that's what they're doing underground. They're mining phosphorus. They need to mine the phosphorus because it's like they need to grow plants, and it's like this is the backbone of the economy. But it's not what it seems because it's like because the people running the show don't have the best intention. So there's actually more to it than that, and there's all these layers of stuff, and I'm reading Naomi Klein and stuff, and I'm just like her stuff is really speaking to me, and I'm like, oh, she sets up exactly how post disaster, you know how corporations, how they work in a post disaster environment, and I'm like, oh, that okay. Now I just throw in like fun, cool mutants and you know, kind of get this kind of gutter punk aesthetic going on. That's like fun, and there's music, and and that's not music because it's a comic, but there's lots of references to actual music because everyone in the post-apocalyptic underground like sewer world is kind of obsessed with 20th century culture because they're living in its garbage. You know,
Yeah.
that's the idea. Like, I don't say it explicitly, but it's like they literally just have like, they're not making anything new. I mean, they're trying to make a society, but they're making it in like the scraps and the remnants of. And so you have definitely of the 20th century, and you could definitely tell that there are people who are just like, you know, like they're like a raft. They're like they're clinging to this and making it part of their, you know, I don't want to say their new utopia because that's part of what it is. It's like it's a failed utopia, and that's part of
Yeah.
like as you like that's book two, and I don't want to talk too much about what I'm planning to do. I'm trying to focus on what the first book is about, but the first book is setting all these things up, like this undercarriage, this structure of, you know, a like an overly like an oppressive authoritarian corporate structure that is just trying to maintain a a system of, you know, you know, goods going one way and goods going the other way just because they don't know anything. They don't know anything else. That's they don't understand that that's how it's supposed to go. Is that we dig stuff out of the earth and then we ship it off somewhere else and then we bring it over here and then, you know, we need a workforce of happy, you know, exploitable workers to, you know, as cannon fodder, and that's their structure and that's how they like it. And then there's this uncontrollable other that is underneath them and bubbling and causing problems. And
Mhm.
my protagonist like discovers that she discovers that it's there, and it's the coolest thing that she could have possibly imagined. Like she's just overwhelmed. She's like over the moon with it, and that's what it is. It's not the like again, the apocalypse isn't scary. It's fun. There's danger around the corner. You know, it's always there. It's looming, but there is I wanted to as like dark and grimy and gross as it is, I want the reader to want to experience it and want to be they want to be there with Bill Cricket and Frankie, who are the, you know, the main three who kind of drive the story forward. And it was fun because they were just like I said, they started out as three characters I came up to just hang jokes on. You know, I just
Yeah.
wanted to do this kind of fun, like off kilter, kind of weird thing, you know, kind of in the vein of like Flaming Carrot or The Tick or Tank Girl. And I just wanted to kind of is like, oh, nothing mattered and everything was like just, yeah, like I said, just an excuse to make bad puns and do jokes. And then someone was like, well, you need a story if you want to sell this as a graphic novel. And then that took a long for the um the real world things to kind of seep into things like, well, what do I care about? Because I don't know, you're not going to care about the characters if I don't care about the characters, you know. And it can't just be like, oh well, I've been drawing them for the past 12 years, so that's like, well, that doesn't. Why why, you know, why would you stick with something for this long? um and yeah, it was a it took a really long time for me to kind of, and again, it was not, it was not a straight line, you know, it wasn't a through line. It was like, oh, other stuff came, I started it, other stuff came up, and then I kind of had to kind of come back, you know, circle back to this and be like, okay, well, let's head back to this. And because someone just asked me, hey, someone asked me, hey, what do you got laying around? And it wasn't like, oh, it wasn't a throwaway thing. It was like, oh, this thing that I've been working on since I was in college. Oh yeah, sure, yeah, I'll give this
Oh,
a shot. Sure, like that's everyone's dream. That's, you know, that's every cartoonist who I know has something that they, you know, been
mhm.
working on forever that they just like, okay, well, you know, once you get that opportunity, and some people are lucky, they right out of the gate, you know, boom, it takes off. You know, Jeff Smith. I mean, did
Yeah.
he do comic
Yeah.
before? I mean, he must have. He must have been doing stuff. But hey, everyone knows Bone. boom, just takes off, you know. So I could not have been where I am if it wasn't for the people who are supporting me. And so if I have this opportunity, I just want to kind of give a brief, like, kind of acknowledge some of these people who've been here for
Yeah.
me. If you know some of them people, um, obviously, like Mike, MK Reed and Greg Means, writers I both collaborated. We collaborated together on Cute Girl Network. MK Reed, we collaborated on Dinosaurs. MK, we did a Saved by the Bell one shot together. So MK, and she has MK Reed. She has a whole catalog of great work out there that you can check out. So she is wonderful. Robin Chapman is
Yeah.
phenomenal. She has just been a part of the comics, like the indie comic scene, as a lot of behind the scenes stuff, putting together anthologies and other stuff, doing a lot of great stuff. I see again. I wish I could. But again, you can just search her name and find what she's been up to. Obviously, she's working with First Second right now and doing some amazing stuff. Also working with
No One Returns from the Woods or something like that is one of
yeah. There's
hers.
other
No
one I'm
One
trying to
Returns.
remember. It's the guy shouting with the he's leaning. I'm trying to remember. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's driving me nuts. I was just it's okay. I'm not gonna try to spend the next 3 minutes trying to remember the title of something. Dave Roman is
Yes.
someone I've worked with and who's always like um, been there and kind of been part of that support structure. Trying to remember. I think I mentioned Rick Spears. I mentioned trying to remember who else remember. Uh, Oh, so okay, I need to move on now because I'm trying to remember names and it's getting a little difficult right now for me. So I don't want to leave anybody out, but I think I mentioned, um, and you, if you're listening and you're like, "Hey Joe, you forgot me," you know who you are, and again, I don't want to bore the audience by just rattling off a bunch of names and stuff. So
Well, all people
I think
that are worth
Chris
checking out.
earlier in the podcast. So yeah,
American Cult is a Robin
thank
Chapman.
you, thank you.
Yes, yes. Sorry, I was thinking of another Robin, but American Cult, and that's an amazing, amazing anthology. Yeah,
That's you, Jason. Thank you for coming through with that one. Very much appreciated.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I have heard great things about that book, and then got the pleasure of checking it out. So absolutely.
yeah. Was there anything else you wanted to ask me about?
Um, so I know you also have a book. Did you just have a book come out this week? Is that right? Is that what
Yeah,
you said?
Bush Leaguers. Yeah, that was with written by uh, Bob McKeon and Sam Fletcher. That's out by Scout Comics. That is more situation. That's their baby. That's their little thing, and they kind of hired me. I came on later in the game as kind of just as work for hire gig. It is a fantastic book though. It is great. So because you do a lot of creator owned stuff, and then I also do just pay if someone has an they're a great bunch of writers. This is their first graphic novel. I was very I was very excited, like because it was right up my alley. It was a period baseball book. So not a huge baseball fan, but I do. It was the comedy was on point, and it was also like turn of the century and like like Teddy Roosevelt is a character, and it's a riot. It's a riot, and he plays a big. He's the time when he was police commissioner of New York of Brooklyn. Actually, he was a
Oh
police
wow, yeah.
commissioner of Brooklyn, and they write him as like a blowhard Boy Scout. You know, just it is too funny. He is the highlight of the book for sure. And it was like one of the reasons why like, oh, I would love to be a part of this and draw this and everything. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah, but yeah, Bush Leaguers is great. Bush Leaguers is out now, or I don't know when this is actually going to drop. So Bush Leaguers is um
It just came out.
yeah, it just came out.
Hmm.
Um, Knee Deep will be available May 30th. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's the timeline on the, you know, for people of you in the future listening.
Yes. And it's great commentary on nostalgia, economics, and just lots of fun too. So I'm glad that I noticed that it was a book one, and so I'm
Yeah,
glad that there's more to come, and so glad that it worked out that way that a publisher said, "Hey, what do you have, and can we have three of them?" That's a wonderful thing for
yeah,
readers.
it's quite an amazing opportunity to have. So, um, yeah, just oh yeah, to when I'm just like thanking people, Andrea Colvin, who was the person who was said, "Hey, what you got?" And then there's Amanda Meadows and Shauna Gore, who were very instrumental in the editorial, like actually taking my mess of an outline and you know, and kind of making it into something that someone would want to read. So they were also very instrumental, and I would like to thank them. Um, a lot too. To thank them in particular for this particular bringing the book to fruition. So yeah, I got a lot of work cut out ahead of me. I have uh, Knee Deep Book Two and two other books that I'm currently like all at the same time. I'm doing
Wow.
triple duty right now, which is good because I don't have any lag or downtime. If as soon as I hand off something and I'm waiting on notes, I can just pick something else up. So and get started right on something else. So in the future, if you've already read Knee Deep, book one, um, be on the lookout for a Great Depression book I'm working on
Great, great.
in Stout. Uh, I would consider this my follow up to Dinosaurs, Prehistoric Mammals. So if you like the dinosaur book, you're gonna love the Prehistoric Mammals book. I've been working on this one for a long time. This is this is going to be the science comic for me, and you know this one's it's gonna cover a lot of stuff. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It'll be a lot of cool, wacky, weird looking animals, extinct animals, and then eventually like Knee Deep book two in time. So that's something that's stuff to look out for in the coming next year or so.
Awesome.
But yeah, I got a lot of stuff in the pipe, a lot of stuff coming out right now too. So it's good time if you want to pick something up and check something out. This is a great opportunity to do so. So, yeah, thank you again so much. This is
Pleasure. Yeah, absolutely. Always glad to have you on. Always glad to talk about your work. And as things come out, if you want to come back on and talk about things, that'd be
absolutely.
great. And I'll also make sure to link your website in the description of the podcast so that folks can go and visit that and see
Yeah,
the things as they come out.
yeah. It is basically it's really bare. It's I like to call it like a bare bones website because it's easy to maintain. It is just a my name and like a template of like books that I have done that you can buy. And then you click on that and you see a little sample, and then you see and then under the cover is like where you can go to get it online or whatever, or you know, or if you want to get your favorite bookstore to order it, they will, you know, most of the stuff is still in print. Most of this, and actually, I there's even that. That is the I feel like as far as websites go, this I can maintain. I can put up a thumbnail of a of a cover, a link to where to buy it, and you know it'll say whether it's for mature audiences or for all ages, because I do have some adult stuff. Orcs is adult. Long Road to Liquor City, that's for grown-ups. It's mature audiences, and then I the science comics is all ages. Bush Leaguers, I'm gonna go saying that's all ages. That's all. That's. But we'll figure. I'll actually like look into it because that's the one I have to do. That I have to put bush leaguers on there, and
Oh,
then
nice, nice,
bush
definitely.
leaguers. And yeah, I got a lot of updating of the website to do this month. So, but it's great. It's like it's not gonna have like if you want to see what like if you want to see sketches, you want to know what I'm doing, go on Instagram. That's the best place to find like behind the scenes kind of stuff. But the website's just links to the books, which is easy peasy, nice and simple. It's all right. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, appreciate that plug at the end. That was very nice.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Joe Flood, thank you so much
Jason,
for
thank you.
talking
All
with
right.
us. All right. Take good care and thank you.
Thank you.